No, I don't really talk about Israel and Palestine because I don't care. Like everyone's like Israel or Palestine. I don't care. Where are they located on the other side of the Mediterranean? Then so not Scotland. Then I don't care. I just hope everyone has fun. But anyway, Iran. I want to talk about this though because see three-letter agency, Secret Service type stuff. I am interested in that, and that stuff is kind of cool, terrifying, but also kind of cool. And that's why this has piqued my interest. Iran says Hamas leader killed from close range because a lot of you might not know that one of the top leaders of Hamas was hiding in Iran, and Mossad still got him. Now, I don't know how politically literate you are, but Iran and Jews do not get along. Like, especially Israel. Iran doesn't like Israel a little bit. Like they, yeah, they've a little bit of a. There's no salvaging that relationship, if you know what I mean. So Iran does help Hamas a lot, and basically one of the leaders was in Iran, and Mossad still fucking got him, still managed to kill him, which. Mossad, see, flying around the world and just killing people in other countries, and then the other countries are like, Mossad, what the fuck? And Mossad's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And like, yeah, they do that a lot. But anyway, Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh was killed with a short-range projectile fired from outside his guest house in Tehran, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps says. The paramilitary organization said the projectile weighed about 7 kilograms and caused a strong blast, killing Haniyeh and his bodyguard last Wednesday. The Hamas leader had been visiting the Iranian capital for the inauguration of President Masoud Pezeshkian. The IRGC accused Israel of designing and implementing the operation, supported by the US, because of course they fucking were. Israel has not commented on Haniyeh's death. But it was them. Like, who else would do it? Like, Mossad and Israel have been caught many, many times just going around the world and assassinating people in other countries to the point where the other countries are like, what the fuck? You can't just do that. Like, have you ever seen that movie, Munich? Right, Munich is based on like the Munich Olympics. Way back in the day, the Israeli team were in the Olympic Village. Hamas terrorists stormed it, took them hostage. A bunch of woo-woo fuckery went down. A bunch of the Israeli prisoners got killed and everything. It was this whole big affair. And then what happened was Mossad, in retaliation, decided to target all of the masterminds of this hostage taking. And so when all over the world just fucking murdering members of Hamas, I think they were called something different back then. This was like back in like the 60s, 70s, or 80s. I don't really remember. I mean, the movie's great. You should watch the movie. But see this whole planting bombs in like under beds in hotel rooms, or there was even one guy where they planted a bomb inside his telephone, and then they would phone the phone, and whenever he answered, they went, all right. And fucking just blew him up. And Mossad got caught doing that like so many times. Right? So see this? Yeah, they totally fucking did it. Because one thing that you should probably know is Israel, our greatest ally, of course, wants Iran out of the picture, which is why for many, many years Israel has been going to America, Bobby, come on, like fucking, Bobby, like, yeah, basically everyone's like, what's the next kickoff in the Middle East going to be? Iran. It's going to be Iran. We're going to get involved with Iran. However, Iran is very closely tied to Russia and China, as a sort of a self-preservation type thing. World War III might kick off as a result. And if you looked at the roster for World War III, our chances don't look good. Even India, with its 1.5 billion Jeets on the Chinese border, like, I don't think they're going to be able to do much against China. Right, the roster, like World War III, you should be nervous, right? Because when it kicks off, it does not look good. I mean, that's what happens when America spent like the last 100 years making the entire world fucking hate it. Right, so maybe we'll switch teams. Who knows? Maybe we'll pull in Italy. At least I fucking hope we will. The IRGC account is at odds with reports in Western media, which have suggested that explosives were planted in the guest house by Israeli operatives, which is something they have done in the past. They found out what hotel room a Hamas guy was fucking staying in. They managed to get into the room. They planted a bomb under his bed with a pressure trigger. So as soon as he... when you go into a hotel room and the first thing you do is, like on the bed. Boom! I shouldn't be laughing at that. That's terrible. But anyway, yeah, they have done that. So yeah, this is totally something that they would do. The failures surrounding Hania's death, especially on a day marked by intense security, have caused embarrassment for Iran and the IRGC. Dozens of IRGC officers have been arrested or dismissed in the days since Hania's death, the New York Times reported on Saturday. The paper said the organization's intelligence agency had taken over the investigation. Staff members at Hania's guest house have been interrogated and their phones and other electronics have been seized, it added. Meanwhile, the security details of Iranian politicians have been overhauled. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei led prayers for Hania on Thursday, but was whisked away soon after the ceremony by his security detail because Iran is probably absolutely shitting themselves. But I mean, it was kind of obvious that Iran is obviously packed full of Mossad operatives, right? Because them and Israel, technically they're at war. They're at war, but I don't think there's been any like official declaration. Don't quote me on that. I've just read that. The IRGC statement on Saturday came after Britain's Daily Telegraph said that Hania was killed by bombs planted in his room by agents of Israel's Mossad intelligence agency. Citing Iranian officials, the paper said 2 Mossad agents had entered the guest house and planted explosives in 3 rooms. The Iranians, who had viewed CCTV footage of the operatives, said that the 2 subsequently left the country before detonating the bombs from outside of Iran. The New York Times also reported that Hania was killed by explosives detonated in his room, saying that they could have been planted up to 2 months earlier. The BBC has not been able to verify these claims. However, one of the things that they might do, and this is a pretty common thing, the American government has done this many times, is they wait for the guy to go out on the balcony and have a cigarette and just boop. Like they just fire a missile and just boop. There you are. Problem dealt with. I'll just go out, get some fresh air, and instead getting a fucking hellfire to the fucking forehead. What a beautiful evening. Bang. But Hamas officials told the BBC earlier this week that Hania had stayed in the same guest house before. He had made up to 15 visits to Iran since becoming the head of the political bureau in 2017. The paper's reports, if true, would represent an even bigger failure for the IRGC, who have long controlled internal security in the country. Experts also said it would highlight the degree to which Mossad can operate with impunity in Iran. Regardless of the manner of Hania's death, both Iran and Hamas have vowed to retaliate, because of course they have. The IRGC said on Saturday that Israel would receive a severe punishment at the appropriate time, place and manner. What did they mean by that? Fuck knows, but World War III could kick off. Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militia and political group in Lebanon, has also vowed reprisals. One of their top commanders, Fod Shukar, Fade Rotha, was killed in an Israeli strike last Tuesday. After an Israeli operation killed IRGC Brigadier General Mohammad Reza Zahidi in Damascus earlier this year, Iran fired 170 drones, 30 cruise missiles, and at least 110 ballistic missiles towards Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Big Benji, has warned Israelis that challenging days lie ahead. We have heard threats from all sides. We are prepared for any scenario. His ministers were sent home this weekend with satellite phones in case of an attack on the country's communications infrastructure. Despite the government's warnings, the mood appeared relaxed in Tel Aviv's seafront, with bronzed bodies lazing under beach umbrellas. But few are in any doubt that the Middle East stands perilously close to full-scale war. Israel is on high alert and several international airlines have suspended flights to the country. The US has also deployed additional warships and fighter jets to the Middle East to help defend Israel from possible attacks by Iran and its proxies, the Pentagon said. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy has warned at the risk of that the situation on the ground could deteriorate. Jesus Christ. I need to stop doing these so late at night. Could deteriorate rapidly is rising. Meanwhile, at least 10 people have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school sheltering displaced people in Gaza's Sheikh Radwan neighbourhood, the Hamas-run government media office has said. It comes as Israel said an airstrike it conducted in the occupied West Bank killed a Hamas commander and 4 senior Palestinian Islamic Jihad fighters on Saturday. The Israeli military said the airstrike hit a vehicle as the men were on their way to carry out an attack. Elsewhere, Israeli officials, including the directors of Mossad and the internal security agency Shin Bet, have arrived in Cairo for fresh ceasefire talks. Cairo. Interesting. They never really left the desert, did they? They will meet Egyptian intelligence chief Abbas Kamel, an Egyptian called Kamel, and other senior military officials in a bid to rescue a potential truce. But US President Joe Biden admitted on Friday that Hania's death had damaged the talks. I can't actually imagine America if you're going to Israel. Why did you do that? We were so close. Bobby, I could. Come on, Bobby. Hania was heavily involved in negotiations, and Mr. Biden said his death doesn't help efforts to end the 10-month-old conflict. The war began in October when Hamas carried out an unprecedented attack on Israel, killing about 1,200 people and taking 251 others back to Gaza as hostages. The attack triggered a massive Israeli military response, which has killed at least 39,550 Palestinians in Gaza, according to the territory's Hamas-run health ministry. And there we are, that's the end of the story. Now, this type of stuff, XYZ's happening in the Middle East, XYZ's happening in Israel and Palestine, I don't care. I genuinely do not care. I like spy stuff. I do, I'm sorry, I really do like spy stuff. That's why I like Munich. Munich, you know, regardless of what you think about Israel and stuff like that, Munich's a good movie, right? It's a really good movie. I advise that you watch it. But one thing that makes me nervous is, despite the fact that I really do not care about all this stuff, I mean, I think it's awful that children are being killed and all that, but I mean, their parents are absolute fucking idiots. What am I supposed to do? You know, when about a few million people all have a blood debt against each other, how are you supposed to fix that? You can't, right? If that fire's burning, the only thing you can do is sit back until it runs out of fuel and goes out on its own. That's all you can do, right? However, when it starts to cause things where World War III might kick off, where I have young children, that is where I start to get a little bit worried. So if all the world leaders and governments and states of the world could stop being absolute fucking idiots, that would be fantastic.